Today is December 8th, 2014. We are Russia and we will be presenting our NDC.
I'm Renee Kramer, and I'm representative from Russia. Today I'll be talking about the political aspects and historical demographics.
I'm Representative Ryan from Russia. I'll be talking about attribution and our INDC.
I'm Representative Farhan and I'll be talking about detection and energy supply.
I'm Representative Evan Wilson, and I will be talking about theory, economics, and NDC assessments.
Climate change is a change in global or regional climate patterns over a long period of time. Climate change has been linked to increased levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide produced by the use of fossil fuels. Anthropogenic emissions of greenhouse gases are also known linked to climate change. Now Representative Kramer is going to talk about our NDC.
As said before, I'm Representative Kramer. Today I will be presenting our nationally determined contribution. The goal with our NDC is to reduce our emission levels by 70 to 75% of our 1990 levels. We wish to have this objective completed by 2030. I want to give you a little background on our beautiful country, Russia. We are home to 70% of the world's coniferous forest. With this, we produce over 25% of the world's forest resources. On a slightly darker note, our country is a great producer of fossil fuels. This is due to our powerful energy sector. Not to boast, but our country's people all have reliable access to energy.
The Russian Federation plans to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 25 to 30% based on levels in 1990 and plans to reach this goal by 2030, as we just learned. The Russian government will focus on changes in energy, industrial processes, agriculture, land use, and waste management. Greenhouse gases that will be monitored include carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, sulfur hexafluoride, and nitrous trifluoride. Russia has historically been one of the top 5 emitters of greenhouse gases and has been above average in terms of per capita emissions, but intends to lower that ranking with its current plan.
Temperatures in eastern Russia have been rising at a rate of 0.4 to 0.5 degrees C every year. Russia is surrounded by mountains along its southern and eastern side, but the west side is exposed, so the winters become more severe as you go eastwards. Cold days have been decreasing by 6% per decade since the mid-1970s. Data from the meteorological network of Rossby shows that the warming in Russia was 1.29 degrees C for the last 100 years. 1976 onwards, Russia has received a 7.2 millimeter increase in rainfall every 10 years. Data also shows that temperatures in Arctic are rising almost double the rate of the global average. Next, Representative Ryan is going to talk about attribution.
Russia's emissions can mainly be attributed to its large oil and gas industry. They have the 8th largest oil reserves in the world and the largest natural gas deposits in the world. These factors all attribute to Russia being the 5th largest emitter in the world, despite having a much lower population than the other large emitters around the world. Now, Evan will discuss how climate change is affecting economics.
The Russian Federation's GDP in 2012 grew 72.9% from the GDP of 2000, while greenhouse gas emissions in 2012 only grew 11.8% based on levels in 2000. Because the increases in the GDP were high at a time of low greenhouse emission growth, the Russian Federation determined that limiting greenhouse gas emissions by 2020 to no more than 75% of 1990 levels would be sufficient. This limitation would not negatively impact economic development and complies with internationally determined standards. Russia, along with a few other participants of the Paris Agreement, agreed that they will not contribute nor receive any financial assistance to the Paris Agreement.
The Russian Federation has planned to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by increasing the energy efficiency by the introduction of nanotechnologies. Currently, Russia is using very old machinery that dates back to the Soviet time, but to meet the new standards, all of this will need to be replaced or heavily modified. Russia also plans to develop renewable energy projects and has set to invest approximately 53 billion US dollars into this. Russia plans to have these renewable energy projects installed by 2035. Next, Representative Renee is going to talk about political aspects.
So, on a more political side of climate change, our government has created many resolutions and orders to help combat climate change. Two examples of these resolutions are the Russian Federation number 504P and the Order of the President of the Russian Federation number 861 RP. So just to talk a little bit about the Order of the President created a program of indicators to evaluate the measures aimed at creating socioeconomic industries that are also environmentally friendly. So next, Representative Evan will talk about our assessment.
From a political standpoint, it seems that Russia is on set to reach their greenhouse gas emission goals. Legislation is being enacted that indicates that Russia is on track with their plans to reduce emissions. However, according to climate scientists, Russia's contribution to preventing climate change is critically insignificant. From a purely ecological point of view, Russian forests are shrinking. While coniferous forests have expanded about 10% since 2001 to 2012, deciduous forests have shrunk by about 40% in the same time. This is directly related to an increase in average temperatures between 2001 and 2012. Based on current evaluation, the Russian Federation is only doing the minimum amount of work to reduce the effects of climate change. If current trends are to be followed based on Russia's current contributions, the average global temperature will increase by more than 2 degrees Celsius.
Picture this, we are in 2025. Now we are going to talk about our intended NDC.
It is our goal as the Russian Federation to reduce emissions that are having detrimental effects on our planet. We are here to state our new INDC and give context on why we have determined this INDC to be the best plan of action. Our INDC is as follows. The Russian Federation will be limiting anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions in Russia from 25% to 30% of 2017 levels by the year 2060. This might be a long-term indicator subject to the maximum possible amount of absorbing capacity of forests, which are now growing.
Our national forests have changed over the last few years. Once they were a mixture of deciduous and coniferous forests, but now, due to seasonal temperature change, they're heavily coniferous. These types of trees can handle more extreme weather and they can withstand a lot of weather changes. We have also conquered many great feats in our energy sector. We have gained control over foreign energy markets. Our capital, Moscow, the energy capital, has gained full control and now has the ability to change energy prices as she pleases. Along with this, we have also completed the installation of the North Stream and South Stream natural gas pipelines, which has given us the ability to bypass many foreign transit systems. We have also set aside a hefty amount of funds for climate change research. We hope to help prevent and relieve a lot of climate change stress that has been put on our planet.
As previously stated, Russia plans to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 25 to 30% based on 2017 levels by 2060. Because of the rapid GDP growth, the Russian Federation plans to concentrate its focus on industrial processes, land use, and waste disposal and management. The main greenhouse gases to be monitored will be the same that have been monitored in the past. As Russia has remained in the top 5 countries in terms of greenhouse gas emissions between 2012 and 2025, our goal is to drop from this list. Now, Representative Farhan will elaborate on the detection of climate change.
Russia has developed state-of-the-art equipment to detect climate change. Temperature in eastern Russia has been rising at 0.8 to 1.2 degrees C every 10 years. It is alarming because these numbers are higher than the 2014 numbers. Our models predict that cold days will be decreasing by 10% every decade and annual precipitation is expected to rise 9 mm every 10 years. Snow cover has been decreasing in Russia as shown by satellite coverage. Our models predict that this trend will continue for the years 2025 to 2060, and snow cover will keep on decreasing. A good indicator of climate change is the long-term variation of sea ice extent. Satellite observations near Russia have shown that the sea ice has been decreasing gradually for the past 2 decades. Next, Representative Ryan is going to talk about attribution.
The continuing rise in temperature is being attributed to Russia's continued production and use of oil and gas. The average mean temperature has already risen 2 degrees Celsius from 2017, and we would expect another 3 degrees Celsius of warming by 2050 if business as usual continues. Our new NDC is pledging to significantly reduce warming by significantly reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. We're committed to using more green energy and completely starting to phase out fossil fuels, which was not the purpose of our last NDC.
The Russian Federation has introduced nanotechnologies and has reduced previous levels of greenhouse gases by increasing energy efficiency. Russia is now using latest state-of-the-art machinery that meets the latest standards of emissions. Some of the older machinery has also been modified, but those two meet the latest emission standards. Russia has developed some renewable energy projects like solar, tidal, and wind by investing $55 billion and plans to put more money into similar projects. The Russian Federation also plans to have more than 10-fold increase in hydroelectric renewable power generation by 2035. Russia also plans to have more renewable energy projects set up by 2060. Next, Representative Renee is going to talk about political aspects.
Our political aspects have changed quite a lot since our last meeting. We have two legislation pieces up here right now. So the first is the decree. The decree requests that 75% of Soviet industries convert 50% of their production to renewable energies. The order of the Russian president requires all new, as of 2017, industries to use renewable energy or to have a renewable energy department within their industry.
Russia did not meet their goals as stated by their NDC between 2014 and 2025, and based on current projections, will again fail to reach their emission goals for this current NDC. Due to the implementation of policies that seem to contradict their goals to reduce climate change and the Russian Federation's failure to meet the goals of their last NDC, it does seem unlikely that future goals will be met without the implementation of very strict regulations. Russia also still heavily relies on fossil fuels and exports a majority of the energy that they produce. As other countries adapt to clean energy sources, Russia will not only be hurt economically, but will still be a heavy contributor to climate change.
Thank
Thank
you
you
from
from
the
the
Russian
Russian
Federation.
Federation.
As a